Here are the top stories for today, November 10, 2021. An all-out strategy, the government is set to hold a 3-day national vaccination drive to get more Filipinos protected against COVID-19. A carrot-and-stick approach, the DILG says it does not mean to remove Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program beneficiaries who are not vaccinated. Rethinking an old habit, House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco renews his call to scrap the face shield mandate for the public. And against an old threat, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. calls for political will to continue the fight against communist terrorist groups. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. More COVID-19 vaccines arrive in the country as the government geared to achieve population protection before the year ends. This morning, a shipment of 3 million doses of Sinovac vaccines arrived at the NAIA Terminal 2. The jabs are procured by the government through the Asian Development Bank or ADB. Later tonight, a total of 866,970 Pfizer vaccine doses also procured through ADB are set to be shipped to the country. The same number of doses of the US-made vaccine will be delivered tomorrow. The national government urges all local government units and provincial officials to scale up or fast-track their vaccination programs to make use of all available jabs. A 3-day national COVID-19 vaccination drive is already set to further increase the number of administered jabs in the country. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said the 3-day event aims to inoculate at least 15 million individuals. Dubbed as Bayanihan Bakunahan, the simultaneous national vaccination rollout will be a whole-of-society, a whole-of-government approach. All healthcare workers in the public and private sector or self-employed will be mobilized.
We're planning to conduct a 3-day national vaccination drive from November 29 to December 1, coinciding with our November 30 commemoration of Bonifacio Day. With this, we want to convey the message that every Filipino who will get vaccinated. Lahat na pala, ang gustong sabihin dito sa gobyerno na yung lahat nagpabakuna are heroes. Lahat kayo hero.
Refusing to hire unvaccinated job applicants is legal. This was pointed out by President Rodrigo Duterte amid the reported no vaccine, no hiring policy of a number of business establishments.
Ganito siguro, as a lawyer I would say, na kung nandiyan ka na sa trabaho mo at ayaw mong magpabakuna, well, that is too bad for the employer, but sabi ng mga labor lawyers strongly saying that hindi pwede yung paalisin mo kung ayaw magpabakuna. That would be a violation of the law. And I think I agree with it. The other problem is yung papasok kayo na you seek employment. And then one of the reasons that would be asked of you by the prospective employer would be kung bakunado ka. Na kung sabihin mo hindi, at whatever reason ibigay mo doon sa kanya, para ang importante lang naman sa kanya, bakunado ka hindi. Kung hindi ka bakunado, hindi ka tanggapin sa trabaho. I think that is legal. You have the right to refuse to accept as an employee of somebody who is not vaccinated and would go and join the rest of the employees in the factory or in a place or whatever workplace that you have as your business, tapos this guy would start to contaminate everybody.
The president reiterated his call to all the eligible population to get vaccinated and be protected from the disease. The Philippines has so far administered a total of 64,947,366 doses, with 29,809,085 individuals fully vaccinated.
I have instructed the National Task Force and the DILG to further push these numbers upward to do everything necessary to reach our targets before the end of the year. Almost 30 million Filipinos are fully vaccinated, and more than 35 have at least one dose. So marami na yan. Dito naman sa I am happy to say that the vaccination of our children aged 12 to 17 has also been implemented. This will not only protect millions of our children, but hopefully help convince their parents and grandparents to have the vaccination kung hindi wala pa sila. May I repeat that we cannot lose our focus, especially now that cases are down. And this is further reason to speed up vaccination to prevent another surge.
Malacanang sees nothing wrong with the no vaccine, no Christmas bonus of some local government units. The policy was first floated in Cebu when Acting Mayor Michael Rama said they will only release Christmas bonuses to those who are already vaccinated against COVID-19.
Wala po ako nakikitang pagkakamali dyan. Kasi Christmas bonus po ang pinag-uusapan. Hindi naman po requirement ng batas na magbigay ng Christmas bonus. Ang requirement po para sa mga taong gobyerno ay 13th and 14th month pay.
On the issue of no vaccine, no subsidy, Roque reiterates that the 4-piece program may be amended to further ramp up the vaccination program among beneficiaries. Republic Act 11310, also known as 4-Piece Act, provides cash grants to Filipino households below the poverty line after meeting certain conditions of the government. Data from the DSWD shows that only 12% out of the 4.4 million 4-piece beneficiaries have been vaccinated.
Kung wala pong batas, po pwede po ma-require na no vaccination, no benefits under 4-piece. Kaso po ang ating 4-piece, ginawa na po ng batas, no? At malinaw po doon kung sino yung qualified na makakuha ng 4-piece subsidy, no? At dahil hindi po kabahagi doon yung hindi nagpapabakuna, kinakailangan maamendahan po yung batas. So po pwedeng amendahan po yung batas.
As for Tiangge owners, Roque said requiring them to get vaccinated is valid to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Malacanang earlier warned bazaar operators of possible closure if they fail to observe minimum health and safety standards and keep a limited number of shoppers inside their stores.
Pagdating naman po sa Tiangge, iba pong bagay yan, no? Kasi ito naman po ay kabahagi ng General Welfare Clause, no? Na tanging mga bakunado ang papayagan magbenta sa mga Tiangge. Tingin ko po yan ay valid exercise of police power.
President Rodrigo Duterte has appointed Lieutenant General Leonardo Carlos as the new chief of the Philippine National Police. Carlos will replace General Guillermo Eleazar, who is set to retire on November 13 as he hits the mandatory retirement age of 56. Carlos is a member of the PNA Maringal class of 1988, who served as PNP Director for Integrated Police Operations in Visayas and in Southern Luzon. His latest appointment was with the PNP Chief Directorial Staff. The Department of the Interior and Local Government clarifies that the proposed no vaccine, no assistance is only one of several measures suggested to ramp up the government's vaccination drive against COVID-19. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said their proposal does not aim to delist or remove a 4-piece beneficiary from the program, but merely to withhold a portion of the benefit until such time that the individual has been vaccinated. Año also urged and challenged all local government units to adopt other creative ways to change the minds of their constituents, including the 4-piece beneficiaries, from hesitancy to vaccine acceptance and willingness. The government aims to administer 1 to 1.5 million jabs per day daily before the end of the year. President Rodrigo Duterte urged the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, to come up with a plan for conducting election campaigns. He suggests limited in-person campaigning, noting that some candidates have a limited budget for TV campaign advertisements. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez earlier said that those who would organize political gatherings must strictly follow the existing health and safety protocols.
Kung papayagan nila tayo mag-assemble, because you cannot campaign by just shouting at one corner. You have to have a place where maybe they would limit the attendance or the number of people there. But problema na ng COMELEC yan, anuhin nila. But you must give, I'd like to remind the COMELEC that you must give the candidates really the space and the whatever modality is there. Because there can never be an election without a campaign. And other people cannot also afford, some candidates cannot afford the expense of the TV exposures.
As more Filipinos abroad are expected to arrive this Christmas season, the government eyes the opening of an electronic gate system to avoid long queues at the airport. Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morente said the use of the e-gates cuts the processing time for passengers from the present 45 seconds to only 8 to 15 seconds. Aside from biometric scanning, the e-gates have other modern security features such as facial recognition, barcode reading, and smart card recognition. It can also detect passengers with derogatory records, including wanted fugitives and those who are on the immigration blacklist, watch list, and hold departure list. As for fears that passengers could be exposed to and contaminated by the virus by scanning their fingers on the machines, Morente assures that strict regular disinfection will be implemented. The Bureau says the e-gates are intended only for Filipinos, especially returning overseas Filipino workers, while children, senior citizens on wheelchairs, and other handicapped travelers may be serviced by a special lane. Still to come, House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco renews his call to scrap the face shield mandate for the public. And the DSWD says elderly beneficiaries will soon get their pension every quarter of the year. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. More government officials are supporting calls to scrap the mandatory use of face shields, instead choosing to have them worn by the public only in selected areas where protection is needed. Chris Mundo reports.
House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco renewed his call to scrap the face shield mandate for the public, saying that the protection against the airborne transmission of COVID-19 is already sufficiently addressed by the proper use of face masks. Velasco said there is still no solid proof that face shields are effective deterrents to the spread of COVID-19. Velasco issued a statement after some local government units announced they were scrapping the mandatory wearing of face shields except in hospitals and possibly public utility vehicles, now that many residents have been vaccinated. For its part, the city government of Manila stood firm on its policy to scrap the mandatory use of face shields. Shopping malls in the city have been advised of the Executive Order 42 after it was learned that some establishments continued to require the wearing of face shields. Manila's directive runs counter to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque's pronouncement on that local government units must wait for the final decision of the Interagency Task Force. President Rodrigo Duterte previously approved the recommendation to limit the use of face shields in closed and crowded places. In Iloilo City, the public is encouraged to wear a face shield where it is applicable, while the Sangguniang Panglunsod or SP is still studying the proposal of Mayor Jerry Treñas to suspend its use. The SP is studying the amendment of Regulation Ordinance 2020-095 or the Face Mask Ordinance that includes the mandatory wearing of face shields or eye protectors in public places. Councilor Eli Estante, author of the ordinance, however, asked the request be referred to the SP Committee on Health for their study and recommendation, since they do not have any resource person to explain if there is still a need to use a face shield. Meanwhile, acting Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama said city residents who are calling on the government to revoke the mandatory use of face shields in public places or transportation should get themselves vaccinated against COVID-19. Rama said he supports the executive order issued by Governor Gwendolyn Garcia limiting the use of face masks to crowded and enclosed areas. He, however, said that people should show their sincerity in cooperating with the government in its effort to reach the desired population protection by submitting themselves to vaccination. The Cebu City Police Office said despite the drop in the number of cases here, the minimum health protocols will still be strictly enforced down to the sub-villages. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Authorities confiscated 18 40-foot container vans containing imported red onions valued at 57 million pesos at the Mindanao Container Terminal subport in Tagoloan, Misamis Oriental. Using information from the Special Task Group on Economic Intelligence, customs personnel inspected the containers with cargoes declared to be cream, flavored nuts, and other food products, but were instead found to contain onions. Also a part of the task force are the Department of Trade and Industry, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and National Intelligence Coordinating Agency. DA Region 10 Assistant Secretary Federico Lasiste Jr. and BOC 10's MCT Subport Collector John Simon inspected the cargoes that were believed to be from China. Simon said this is not the first time that onions from China were intercepted at the MCT. 14 40-foot cargo containers were already intercepted this year alone, totaling 90 million pesos. The city government of Iligan has started vaccinating minors against COVID-19. Several vaccination sites have also been opened to accommodate minors with or without comorbidities. More on this from Claire Gighe.
About 260,000 eligible population, including minors aged 12 to 17 years old, are now lining up to avail of the COVID-19 vaccines. This as the local government of Iligan City, through the close collaboration of the City Health Office, Department of Health, and the Department of Education, rolled out its vaccination drive including minors on Monday, November 8. The launching of the pediatric vaccination was held at the Iligan City National High School or ICNHS, being one of the newest activated vaccination sites in the city. Mayor Celso Rehancia stressed that with this rollout, the youth and the parents are ensured that they will already be free to roam the city and live the normal life in no time when the city reaches the herd immunity, which is targeted to be attained before the year ends.
Kung mamakunahan tanan, sigurado ko na protektado na. Bisag asa na maglakaw-lakaw, tanan ng mga kalihukan ato ng mahimo tungod kay protektado na kita.
Vice Mayor Jamar Veracruz further reiterated Pope Francis' statement that the vaccination is an act of love, as he emphasized that to be vaccinated is the sole key to save everyone's lives from this persisting global health crisis.
If you love yourself, if you love your families, if you love the people next to you, kinahanglan magpabakuna yun ta. Kay mauranin pamagi na maluwas na to ang atong pamilya, maluwas na to itong kagalingon, o maluwas na to ang atong dakbayan, meaning epidemya.
Apart from the ICNHS, the Adventist Medical Center Iligan or AMCI was also set as a hospital-based vaccination site, with their pediatricians ready to cater to minors with or without comorbidities. Other vaccination areas including Robinson's Place Iligan, La Salle Academy, and ICNHS will accommodate the general population aged 18 years old and above and minors of 12 to 17 years old without comorbidities. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gigha of the Philippine Information Agency, Iligan City and Lanao del Norte.
Starting next year, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, will release the social pension of indigent senior citizens every 3 months instead of twice a year. This following the adoption of Resolution number 1047 of the House of Representatives Special Committee on Senior Citizens. Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez, the author of the resolution, said waiting every 6 months to receive assistance is too long for indigent senior citizens. Starting 2022, beneficiaries of the social pension for indigent senior citizens will receive their 500 peso monthly stipend on a quarterly basis. Beneficiaries who are affected by pandemic restrictions may send their authorized representatives to claim the stipend. The DSWD is also coordinating with the Land Bank of the Philippines regarding the application, production, and implementation of cash cards to make the release of the stipends more convenient. The registration for the Philippine identification in Davao del Sur has reached 77% as of October. Provincial Statistics Officer Randolph Anthony Galles is hoping that by the end of the year, the Philippine Statistics Authority in Davao del Sur would have convinced the eligible population to register. He said the target completion in Davao del Sur is high because there are sitios that surpass the 100% target. Some of the municipalities which have exceeded 100% registration are Digos City, Hagonoy, Santa Cruz, Sulok, and Malalag. Bansalan recorded a 90% registration turnout. Magsaysay posted 84% and Matanao had 79% registration. And in our business news, government officials reiterated their support for the growth of the country's shrimp industry during the virtual 13th Philippine Shrimp Congress. In a keynote speech, Senator Cynthia Villar recognized that the shrimp industry provides huge income as well as jobs and a secure food supply to the people. She highlighted the need for the government, research industry players, fishermen, and shrimp farmers to establish a partnership and support system to thrive amid the pandemic. Shrimp Congress Chairperson Norberto Chinquanco emphasized that sustainable and environment-conscious growth of the shrimp industry is vital to contribute to national food security and economic growth. Agriculture Undersecretary Cherry Marie Natividad Caballero also recognized the economic contribution of the shrimp industry, as the Philippines has been ranked 4th top producer of shrimp in Southeast Asia and 8th in the world. The 13th Philippine Shrimp Congress brought together shrimp producers, experts, and other stakeholders promoting and supporting the growth of the shrimp industry in the country. More stories from the newsroom. National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. calls for political will to continue the fight against communist terrorist groups. And quarantine restrictions cut down deaths due to dengue in Negros Oriental this year to 0. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Kung customer ka, pupuntahan mo ba yung mukhang safe naman o yung certified na safe? Ang safety seal ay patunay na certified safe ang iyong business dahil nasusunod ang minimum public health standards. Meron din itong QR code para mapadali ang contact tracing. Ito ay libre lang. Pero, kailangang i-renew every 6 months or every year kung nasa tourism sector ang iyong business. Kung meron ka ng mga documents na ito, pwede ka na mag-apply para sa Safety Seal Certification. May iba-ibang office para sa iba't ibang klase ng mga negosyo. Pag na-determine nyo na ang issuing authority, simple lang ang steps para makuha ang safety seal. Pumunta sa office ng issuing authority o sa kanilang website. Kumuha ng safety seal checklist at magsagawa ng self-assessment para sa iyong business. I-submit ang checklist at abangan ang inspection schedule. Pag na-approve ang application, bibigyan kayo ng safety seal sticker. Pag hindi naman na-approve, sasabihin kung anong health standard ang hindi nasunod at bibigyan kayo ng pagkakataong ayusin ito. Pag nakuha na ang safety seal, ipaskil ito sa may entrance para makita agad ng mga customer. Pwede nyo rin ipagmalaki na certified safe kayo sa inyong mga social media pages. Paalala lamang, ang isang safety seal ay para sa isang branch lang. Siguraduhin bawat branch mo ay certified safe. Siguraduhin din na nasusunod palagi ang minimum public health standards dahil baka mabawi ang iyong certification. Maaring mag-operate kahit na walang safety seal. Pero hindi ba mas mahalagang kampante ang mga customer sa loob ng iyong negosyo? Kaya kumuha na ng safety seal para ingat-angat tayong lahat.
National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. says political will is needed amid the ongoing pandemic to fight the communist terrorists, the biggest political threat in the Philippines. The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict Vice Chair issued the statement after the Senate slashed the proposed 28.12 billion peso budget of the task force to just 4 billion for 2022. Senate Finance Committee Chair Sonny Angara said they realigned the bulk of the NTF-LCAC's budget to fund pandemic response programs. Esperon said while he understands the dangers of COVID-19, there should be political will to fight the communist terrorist groups, which has caused stunted growth in the countryside. He also hopes that the senators understand that they are addressing a 53-year insurgency. Earlier, the NTF-LCAC said it is allocating 20 million pesos each for over 1,000 barangays cleared of communist terrorist influence under its Barangay Development Project this coming 2022. A disgruntled member of a New People's Army unit operating in South Cotabato surrendered on Tuesday to government troops in the area. First Lieutenant Chris Juper Andreo Punsalan, commanding officer of the Army's 11th Special Forces Company, said the rebel yielded voluntarily along with his firearm in Barangay Edwards, Tibuli Town. The returnee, identified only as alias Katkat for security reasons, is a former member of Platoon West, Sub-Regional Committee Musa of the NPA Far South Mindanao region. Alias Katkat, a member of the Tibuli Tasaday tribe, decided to surrender so he can lead a normal and peaceful life with his family. He was also encouraged by the government's efforts to address the needs of their communities through the Tibuli's task force to end local communist armed conflict. A courier of the NPA also surrendered in southern Leyte. The rebel, identified as alias Nap, reached out on November 5 to the municipal task force to end local communist armed conflict of Bontoc, southern Leyte, and soldiers of the Army's 14th Infantry Battalion. The surrenderer handed over medical equipment and personal belongings, including a uniform provided by the communist terrorist group. The intensified campaign about the benefits for surrenderers encouraged the NPA member to reach out to authorities. A COVID-19 pandemic did not stop a farmer in Antique from improving her skills and helping others as well by establishing an agricultural training site. Rhea De Callo developed a 3-hectare farm in Barangay Igirindon in the municipality of San Remigio. The farm now serves as a learning site of the Agricultural Training Institute under the Department of Agriculture. The site, called Uswag Durog River Gems Incorporated, is providing training to farmers interested to learn about the integrated farming system. This year, the site was accredited as a training center by the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA. De Callo was second runner-up in the DA search for Outstanding Rural Women Farmer Awardee. She said her passion for farming and desire to contribute to development amid the pandemic inspired her to pursue her learning site. De Callo received her award in a ceremony held in Iloilo City on October 25. The quarantine restrictions in Negros Oriental have so far led to 0 deaths this year for another disease, which is dengue. DOH Provincial Chief Dr. Socrates Villamor said if 2021 ends without a single dengue death, it would be the first for Negros Oriental in so many years. Villamor believes the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions contributed substantially to the absence of dengue deaths and a low number of infections because the movement of people were limited. Records from the DOH from January to November 6 show that dengue cases dropped by 73% compared to last year. Dumaguete, the provincial capital, logged the highest number of dengue cases at 138. Villamor is hopeful that the current trend in dengue cases will continue until the end of the year. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. An all-out strategy, the government is set to hold a 3-day national vaccination drive to get more Filipinos protected against COVID-19. A carrot-and-stick approach, the DILG says it does not mean to remove Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program beneficiaries who are not vaccinated. Rethinking an old habit, House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco renews his call to scrap the face shield mandate for the public. And against an old threat, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. calls for political will to continue the fight against communist terrorist groups. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 45 more days to go before Christmas, and that's roughly about a month and a half. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe, everyone.